Okay, I think this is recording. We will do a few of these. If this works out, I'll post it. If it doesn't, I'll do it again. This is intended to be a walkthrough of the transmission project, the 4L80E with ecuGN and the micro TCU. Got it working, installed and running about a week ago. A week of drive time on it, and everything is working extremely well. So this is how the interface works. The installation and setup is covered in their documentation, the micro TCU documentation. We can go over that in another video if it's not clear or if a walkthrough is needed. But the TCU transmission tuning gets incorporated right in with the engine tuning. It's all in the same screen. All of the dashboards are active and usable. You can mix transmission gauges and data stream, data items right in with the engine stuff, and tune it all from the same screen. The data logs have all of the transmission stuff in them, so it really is pretty powerful. The tune we're going to walk through is what I'm currently driving. It's what I started with. The shift points, the wide open throttle shift points, are conservative. They're set kind of low, just to not make, to prevent them from being too high, and that kind of thing. Just complete lack of traction has prevented me from doing any real wide open throttle max shift point tuning. I think we need warmer weather and that sort of stuff for that. So if you look here, this is my project that I'm working on. The third basic setup is the one with the transmission. That's how I'm opening that. So we'll open the last project. We're offline now because I'm not plugged into anything. So that's why the screen is gray. We'll just work offline so everyone knows what we're doing. Anyway, once you set up the transmission in a project, which is a quick 5-minute thing and is documented, like I said, in their procedures, then you get this drop down over here with the ecuGN 003, that's the project name for my current setup, or you can pick the TCU. This name is chosen when you add the transmission into this project. I picked TCU to make it generic. And you'll see TCU show up in the data item list when working with the data streams. So we know a lot about the engine stuff. We can go over some of that in another video. But we'll look at the TCU stuff. We pick this, and all of the tuning menus change over to the transmission stuff. And it works a lot like the engine stuff. If you look down here, I set up a dashboard for the transmission, just like with the engine stuff. It was pretty quick to do. This engine speed comes from the engine. You can get RPM from the transmission data also. It doesn't really matter that this was on the default dashboard. Vehicle speed, transmission temperature, straight out of the 4L80E. That's really pretty cool. It calculates converter slip. The transmission has an input speed sensor, so converter slip is very easy to calculate. It just compares engine RPM to transmission RPM, and the difference is converter slip. And then the engine temperature, this is from the ECM. Like I said, we're combining data. We can pick transmission data and engine data on the same screen. Selector, this is the shifter position. The switches, this comes from switches in the transmission, and they are activated hydraulically. So when the engine's not running, it defaults to second gear. It's a feature of the 4L80, something I didn't realize until I started using it. Map is from the engine. line pressure. This is the desired line pressure in percentage. And yeah, the amperage is backwards in a 4L80E, but the interface and the tuning corrects for that. So 100% line pressure is 100% commanded, which is zero duty on the pressure control solenoid. So you can just forget about all of that and remember that 100% line pressure commanded or in the tune is full pressure in the transmission. And then this is a sensor that I added when I installed the transmission. It's wired into the TCM, and then I pass that data through to the ECM so that I can use it on the ECM side, and it's also logged and whatnot. And since the ECM is seeing it in its own data, I could actually trigger like a warning using the generic I/O in the ECM. I haven't done any of that, but it's sort of a cool thing we could do, kind of like an overboost safety. You could do an under pressure safety. And then this is the actual gear the transmission is in. When you're driving, you can see this change as the transmission shifts. And it is quite cool. So we'll go through this menu for setup, and we've got to make this video long enough. So the basic setup, we'll start with the base settings. You basically tell it's a 4L80E, and it presets all of these ratios and things for you. And then the great thing about this type of transmission is that you can move all your shift points based on TPS, which is how the original transmission works, and you can tune it so it behaves a lot like the stocker. But you run the line pressure from the map sensor, so that it's based on load. This is one of the greatest things about this conversion. My turbo spools are very fast, so at 15% throttle I can get almost full boost, and that's very hard to tune on a mechanical transmission, and get it to be responsive to boost pressure and not wind up slipping and burning up second gear like I've done a couple of times on the 200. That is not a thing on this electronic transmission. Line pressure curves, you can have a different pressure curve for every gear. I don't have it turned on, but that's how you enable it right here. The EPC frequency, the early 4L80s used a lower frequency on the EPC solenoid. They were different internally. Because of that, there's a pressure cushion gizmo in with the accumulators. This is all in the transmission document and documentation, and the transmission builders will know all about this. But I think they made that change in the early 90s. I have a 1997 transmission, which is the later style. There's a lot more of the later style than early style, so you probably have the 590 hertz version. The transmission guy will know. Brake switch enable. You can use the brake switch to turn off the torque converter clutch. It's a separate input on the TCU itself. I don't have one connected, so this is off. Because we're connected over CAN, i.e. 4 wires between the TCM and the ECM, to get all of the data back and forth. You set up remote megasquirt 0 and 7. These are right out of the setup sheets. And once you set up that, the TCM knows how to get all of the data. You don't have to really set up any of the other data configuration, except for the optional stuff. And we can show that later. Mile per hour and meters, these are the defaults, I think. But this is how I have mine set up. And this is really just sets up the scaling for things like shift points and other things like that. So this is how I set mine up, and it works great. So all of this stuff is defaulted when you choose 4L80E. I'm still not 100% dead on, it's within a few percent. But you set up the wheel diameter based on the tire size, so that the vehicle speed matches your GPS or whatever. You want to set that up fairly early in the tuning process, because with this type of electronic setup, changing this is going to change, it's going to move your shift points a little bit. On mechanical transmission, that's not as much of that. But, so anyway, this is very close. It's within a percent or two, but I want to get it dead on so that my traction control is as accurate as possible, which is kind of disabled, although considering the lack of traction I'm getting, I may want to play with that again. So that's all of this. This last one here, VSS output, if we didn't have any kind of speedo cable stuff on the in the car, we could use one of the outputs on the TCM to drive, say, the cruise control or something like that. Or you could run an electronic speedo from one of the outputs on the TCM. I don't have any of that stuff, so I have it turned off. So that's all of this. I guess this last is one of the top, driveline. Just tells the controller where the speedometer information is coming from. And since we have an internal transmission output speed sensor, we don't have like four-wheel drive or any of those other weird things. Then we just use driveline, and all of this stuff is fairly simple. All of these sensors are the defaults for a 4L80E, and it automatically fills in. When you choose 4L80E, like this one, apply common settings, you set that and it auto fills this sort of stuff. So that's that. So we'll see how this video came out. If it's decent, I'll post it, and we'll go from there. I'm not planning on making any kind of advertisement below me on my channel. There shouldn't be any ads or anything. So if there are, let me know, because they're not supposed to be. So that's that. Let me see if I can figure out how to turn this recording off. We'll see how it turned out. Let me know by whatever means you'd like, if this video was helpful or too wordy, or did I miss something, or did I get something wrong. But I do want to walk through all of these things and show how I've tuned it. The transmission's currently performing perfectly. I mean, I guess I was fairly used to my old 200 slamming and banging and doing all of those things that you have to do to keep them alive. This one drives so smooth, I almost miss the banging, because the transmission, the old one, used to do that for years and years. This shifts so cleanly, and it's crisp and it's quick, but it's also smooth that it's a new experience for me. And then when the boost comes up, the shifts tighten right up, but it's also just a dream to drive around in the parking lots and in the neighborhoods and that sort of thing. So 100% success, 2 thumbs up. Should have done this years ago. So that's the first report after a week of driving. Drove it on the highway yesterday. Upshifts, downshifts, passing. Stab it goes, it downshifts, upshifts, does everything it's supposed to. So I'm pretty happy with that. I've been data logging everything. Been watching the shift times and the performance and all that stuff, and it's dead on. So this is what we got.